Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on BJPenn.com. I'm your host, Cole Sheldon. We got a good lineup at UFC 282 and Bellator 289 this weekend. First up, we're going to be joined by Jairzinho, Rozenstruik, and Chris Daukaus to preview their heavyweight fight on the prelims of UFC 282. This is obviously a very intriguing fight. They're supposed to fight in October, got pushed back to now. Both of them are very happy. It's supposed to be a fight night card. Now they're fighting in front of fans. Obviously, Chris, back-to-back knockout losses to Derek Lewis and Curtis Blades, hasn't fought since March, took a lot of time off after that loss. Believed he really needed to just recover and heal up, but now he really likes his match against Rozenstruik. He knows Rozenstruik possesses a lot of power, but he thinks his speed is going to be a big difference. While Rozenstruik saw a lot of holes in Daukaus' game with those knockouts. Believes he can land the shot. Both of them on 2-fight lose streaks. Both of them looking to get back in the win column, really start chasing that title again. While the losers probably become a bit of a gatekeeper, start fighting these unranked or bottom guys of the rankings next. But really good chat with both of them. We're then going to be joined by Chris Curtis to preview his fight against Joaquin Buckley. Curtis is a bit surprised he got this matchup. He was surprised Buckley called him out after the call. He's like, whatever, let's just fight. But and then he was even more surprised that he's the underdog. He didn't really understand that. He doesn't think too highly of Buckley. Doesn't think Buckley has very good wins, but a really good chat with Chris as always. He also talked about Alex Pereira becoming the new champ. Sean Strickland's fight next week, who's obviously a very good close friend and teammate of Curtis, but really good chat with Chris as always. We're then going to be joined by Danny Sabatello, who's headlining Bellator 289 against Rafael Stotts in the semifinals of the Bantamweight Grand Prix. It also is an interim Bantamweight title fight. Danny does not like Rafael. It's pretty clear. He went after Rafael in this interview. He believes Rafael's not very good. He thinks he's in his head, and he thinks it's going to be a total one-sided domination fight, but really good chat with Danny and a funny chat. We then talked to Billy Quarantillo to preview his featherweight fight against Alexander Hernandez. When Billy got this fight, he actually messaged his manager, said, I think you texted the wrong person, because he thought there was no way in hell that Alexander Hernandez could make 145. But after confirming this was the fight, he's really excited for this fight back in front of fans. He thinks Alex Hernandez is that perfect big name fight where he gets a big win, even a stoppage win. It really propels him. He thinks he kind of lost some momentum after that loss to Berg, especially taking so much time off, but he wants fans to remember that he's still a legit threat at featherweight. And then we close things out talking to Jay Perrin to preview his fight against Raul Rosas Jr. Obviously, Raul is 18 years old. He was 17 years old in the Contender Series. Jay wasn't too impressed with his performance. He thinks he's very overrated. He thinks man strength is going to be a big thing. He thinks he isn't as strong as he is, and he just thinks he'll be able to kind of do whatever he wants against Raul and really beat him up and just stun his kind of hype and take a lot of his hype away. He's 0-2 in the UFC, Jay. He knows his fight he probably needs, but this is a matchup he really likes. And he admits he thinks Raul has a lot of skills and he's going to be good in the future. He's just a bit too young and kind of hasn't experienced that fighting at the high level or fighting in front of a crowd or just fights not going his way, which he says once he face adversity, he's really going to falter. But really good episode. Be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for the final episode of the year of Just Scrap Radio on BJPenn.com. All right, we're joined by UFC heavyweight Chris Daukaus, who's back in action at UFC 282. Chris, how's it going, man?
Good. How's it going with you?
I'm doing well. Like, obviously, past two fights haven't gone your way. When I talked to your brother, he said it was going to be around this time that you were going to return. So, like, is this kind of the right time for him? Like, was that kind of time off needed for you?
Yeah, definitely. Me and Rozenstruik were actually scheduled to fight on the October 1st card. From my understanding, there was something with him and his camp as to why the fight was pushed back. I accepted it. I pretty much told the UFC that I was available for that date if they wanted to do a different opponent or if they wanted to push the date back. I would stay with Rozenstruik. And they just said, "Hey, we're just going to stick you with Rozenstruik. We'll just push it to the end of the year." I was accepted. I was acceptable of that, and yeah, it's just really like just taking the time off and just really letting my body heal. I mean, I was dealing with some injuries going into the Curtis Blades fight, and yeah, feel better now. Feel good.
What do you take away from those fights? Just because like you were fighting, like your kind of rise to fighting those guys was happened very quickly.
Yeah. Really just, how quickly things can change, especially in the UFC. You can go from literally just getting signed to signing the best guys in the world. At the time, it was the number 3 and number 4 guy in the world I was fighting. Um, Really just the main takeaways was just that those experiences of what comes along with main eventing. Not necessarily the added pressure, but the added responsibilities as far as the media obligations, film crews following you around, doing like the behind the scenes kind of stuff. Like I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to all that extra media attention. But yeah, just being able to deal with that and everything that comes along with being a main event.
And then with Rozenstruik, like, is this someone you thought you'd be fighting, or like, did you not really know who they'd give you?
I honestly didn't know who the UFC had planned to give me. I really wasn't expecting anyone. I wasn't, going to turn anybody down. I'm not the type of guy to turn a fight down. You could give me, Francis in 6 months. I'll fight Francis. Doesn't matter to me. It's not because he's the champ. It's just because I'm the type of person that I'll really fight anybody. Doesn't matter to me. I wasn't, expecting anyone. I wasn't not expecting anyone besides like the top guys. I wasn't, not expecting another top five guy. Um, I figured anyone in the top 15, I was going to expect really, more so towards the back end of the 15. But yeah, yeah, I'm okay
And
with it.
then with Rozenstruik, like, very similar to yourself, like, kind of knocked a bunch of people out quickly, then kind of got rushed right up to the top. Like,
Yep.
what have you kind of made of his run? Like, obviously coming off two losses in a row, but that Volkov one, like, some people thought it was early. Like, what have you kind of made of his run?
Very similar to mine. Especially his last fight. I mean, it's really just depending on how you look at it. I mean, you can make the argument that it was early, but you could also make the argument that the ref saved him from taking more damage.
Mhm.
He was on his way down. His back was against the cage. He got dropped. I get it. I'd probably be in the same position as him. Wanting to go out in your shield and everything like that. You want the best possible chance to come back and to continue to fight. So I can see his argument in there. But yeah, it's I would just say that our rises and I guess you could say falls are pretty similar, and you know how our careers have played out so far.
Obviously, you were supposed to fight in October. Like, are you kind of happy that it is pushed back? So now you're back in front of fans and not just at the Apex?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's really cool. I mean, it worked out. I mean, it sucks that the training camp has been extended. I think I took like a week off.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of used to it by now. I mean, I thought I was supposed to fight Shamil in July, and then that fight ended up getting pushed back to like September. So I'm kind of used to those longer camps. But yeah, it really worked out in the favor of getting on a bigger guard. I mean, it's the last
Mhm.
pay per view of the year, so it really works out. T-Mobile Arena. I'm really excited to be in front of fans again, and I mean the last couple of ones besides the besides the Dark Glows fight was in front of fans, but yeah, I'm excited to get there, to spend time in Vegas,
Mhm.
to get away and just really enjoy it.
And then another kind of positive is your brother obviously fights a week before you. Like, how much does that
Yeah.
help camp? Or you guys are fighting so close together and can help, and like both of you guys are actually in the gym training for a fight rather than just one having to help you and not really focusing on their own fight.
Yeah, it's really good. We're kind of as you said, the week apart, so everything's working out really good as far as the timeline and the training camp and really getting the rounds in. And I know that he has to get his rounds in. I have to get my rounds in, and we have to split that with the guys in the gym. And so it's really good to go through those paces with him because he knows what I'm going through. He knows I know what he's going through. And certain days are ups, other days are down. So it's
Mhm.
good to have that person to really be there for you.
And then with Rozenstruik, like obviously a ton of power. Like, how do you think you match up against him?
I think I match up well. I think I'm the better athlete. I think I'm a lot faster. I think I'm more technical. Really, the only thing, I mean, he's got like that. Maybe you could say the one punch knockout power. I mean, he has it like throughout his whole fight. I mean, if you look at the Alistair Overeem fights,
Mhm.
he knocked Overeem out in the fifth round. There was what I think like 10 seconds left or a minute left in that fight. He knocked him out. So he's going to carry that power no matter where we're at in the 15-minute fight. I just think I'm a bad stylistic matchup for him. I think I'm just better in all areas, and I really think that you know come December 10th that's really what's going to happen.
Uh, I know wrestling, like you haven't shown it a lot. Like, is that
Yeah,
something that you think you could show in this fight, especially with Rozenstruik being such a good kickboxer?
maybe, maybe, or else I just give my ego, just wants to fucking knock his ass out just to prove a point. Like we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm not banking on anything. It's a fight. Anything can happen. He could hit me once, and then next thing you know, I'm in on his leg, or I start touching him up a little bit. I'm quicker with my hands, and I stay with that. So we'll see where the fight goes. I'm not banking on one way or one path to victory. It's a fight. Anything can happen.
I talked to your brother like last week, I think, and he was
Okay.
kind of, and we were talking about your fight, and he was saying you were kind of getting annoyed a bit where after especially the two loss, like everyone was saying, oh, maybe Chris should go down to 205. Like, is that annoying for you where people are still bringing up this light heavyweight thing?
No, it's always a thing. I'm probably, I'd say I'm arguably the smallest heavyweight on the roster. I mean, yeah, we'll say I'm the smallest heavyweight on the roster. I mean, it's possible for me to get the 205. Um, when I fought Nascimento in Abu Dhabi, I weighed in at like 225. Um, so it's definitely possible. I would just have to take some time off just to make some lifestyle changes. Once I make those lifestyle changes, it could be a possibility of making 205. Um, it's definitely something that I think about. It's definitely something that gets brought up all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone, like, I get random comments on like a photo of my kid on Instagram, like drop the 205. I'm like, this has nothing to do like with anything. So, uh, some days it gets old. Some days it's just just another part of the job, man.
On the flip side, like, have you thought about maybe just adding size then if you're gonna stay at heavyweight?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's something that me and my strength and conditioning coach have had the conversation with, and also my head coach. So it's definitely like a happy medium that you have to find.
Hmm.
I'm definitely faster than these guys. I'm not going to get as big naturally as Francis in
Hmm.
like 6 months. I'm not going to put on 20 pounds of muscle in 6 months. Like that's just humanly not possible. Um, so you're just naturally increasing, certain things. I'm just naturally trying to build my size. Like my upper body, like my back, my upper back, my shoulders, like could get a little bit bigger. I'm trying to work on those things, and hopefully by the time this fight's over with, I'm adding a little bit more size. Nothing too crazy, just slowly building up that good foundation, that good base.
And then, yeah, because I guess that is probably the positive of being at heavyweight is you're a lot faster than a lot of these guys, and that
Yeah,
speed kind of plays a big role for you.
absolutely. And to piggyback off that, I'm definitely faster than a lot of these guys, and I do knock people out. It's not like not knocking anyone out and I'm just
Mhm.
decisioning everybody. Like I have the power at my size that I can knock some people out. So I'm okay with the the type of power I have. It's just, I don't have the one punch power like a lot of these heavyweights have. Like the guys at the upper echelon are like the Francis, like the Derek Lewis's, like the Ties, like all those guys. So maybe if I can increase that a little bit, that'll be better.
With this way, like, is there any pressure on you just coming off the two losses, or do you kind of not even think about that?
There's always pressure. I mean, it's the UFC. You always have to perform. You have to. You're only as good as your last fight. My last two fights obviously fucking sucked. So that means I suck in the eyes of the fans and everyone who's going forward with my career. So yeah, obviously there's going to be pressure, but it's just about dealing with that and mitigating all that during fight night and fight week and leading up to the fight.
With this one, how do you kind of see it playing out?
Really, just you know, I mean, I'm expecting him to be a full counterpuncher. Not really pushing the pace. I think he's going to go at my pace, whatever pace that I decide. He's the type of guy to really like see what you're going to do and then and try and counter off that. So we'll see. I mean, I want to push a good pace on him. I want to push in all areas of MMA. So we'll see if he can keep up. If he can keep up, good for him. If not, it sucks to be him.
You get your hand raised here, like, where do you think that kind of puts you? Like, you're Zena's guy in the top 10, like, you're kind of right back to where you were
I'm
kind of
right back
before
where
the
I'm at,
yeah.
man. Right back. So we'll see. I mean, there's some guys, that are making the run. We'll see. I get through. I get through Rozenstruik. Start fresh in the new year. We'll see about who's in what spot. I'm not really. Um, I don't think I'm in the position to jump back into where I was at,
Mhm.
before the Derek Lewis fight, getting like a top five guy. So they would probably offer me a guy right around, where I'm at, or maybe a little lower in the rankings, which doesn't really matter to me as long as I'm fighting, as long as I'm winning. It doesn't matter, who I'm really fighting. As long as I can just continue to perform, that's really all I care. I'm just excited. I'm actually intrigued by the Spivak and the Derek Lewis fight because I was half expecting to get Spivak before I got Rozenstruik, and then when he got hurt, or he got hurt or whatever, it happened, and I was half expecting for them to throw Spivak in there, but apparently they were making the Derek Lewis fight. So seeing how he goes, if he wins and I win, I can see that fight happening, or Tibor. I don't know if he's contracted with anybody, so we'll see.
And is that something you kind of want? Is that slower kind of push up there now after kind of like not many people are fighting like the third or fourth ranked guy in their like fifth fight in the
Yeah,
UFC and a main event?
yeah. I mean, if the UFC is going to give it to me, I'm not going to tell them no.
Yeah.
It's just I've experienced all that now, so I think I can better handle those situations now, and better handle everything that comes along with that. If they want to do that and they want to give me the number two guy, number three guy, whatever, back to back, I'm fine with it. It's a part of the job. It's you're getting more eyes on you, more money in your pocket, so I'm fine with that. But if I had the choice between that or slowly building myself, if I can, you know, jump in there and make a shit ton of money, I'm cool with it. So let's go.
I guess the one downside of this being in the bigger card is it's probably a bit harder to get a bonus compared to that
Just
October
a
1st
bit,
card.
just a bit, because there's a lot of big names. There's a lot of really good fights on that card. So it's going to be a banger. It's going to be a super fun card. So we'll see how it goes.
Does that like excite you more as like being a part of this kind of card and event, kind of seeing like because to me like 280, 281, 282 are like probably the three biggest cards they did this year.
Yeah, and it's something to really be happy about that you're actually going to be on this card. Like I made my debut when DC fought Stipe for the trilogy fight, so that was like first introduction of like really big cards, but it was like at the Apex, so it wasn't like a big pay per view with like
Mhm.
full crowd. So, but I'm really excited to be on that card. It's what a lot of fighters are jockeying for as far as like to get into those positions. So, yeah, I'm cool with it. I love that.
Just last thing, like you get past Jairzinho, like what's kind of this ideal 2023 look like for you?
Uh, I don't know, man. Get past him. If the UFC wants to go to England, I'd love to go to England. They keep talking about the Leon Edwards fight again, so depending on when that is, I'm down for whatever. Don't really have an opponent in mind. Just really whoever the UFC wants to offer. But it's depending on how I come out of this fight as far as barring injuries and everything like that. Quick turnaround, maybe end of February, beginning of March. I'm down for that. So yeah.
Is that just something like you just want to kind of travel the world on the UFC's dime? Like you
Yeah,
don't gotta
pretty
be
much.
paying? Yeah.
Yep, pretty much, man. Yeah, pretty much. I just want to travel the world, beat people the fuck up, and get paid for it. There's really nothing wrong with that. It's a perk of the job. You could say is that you get to travel the world. I've been to Abu Dhabi, and I liked going over there. I liked being a part of that, and I would like to see more. Than now that everything's opening up, I always wanted to go there. And what's better than going over there when the UFC's paying for everything, and they're going to pay me to beat somebody up?
Yeah. Well, Chris, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for
Of
doing this
course.
again.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, we're joined by UFC heavyweight Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who's back in action at UFC 282. Jairzinho, how's it going, man?
Going good. Yeah, ready to go again.
Yeah, I just quick on touching your last fight. Like, what do you take away from that? Like, obviously, a lot of people thought the stoppage was early. Like, do you take anything away from that fight just because it was pretty quick and like, yeah, a lot of people did think that stoppage was early.
I feel the same way, but then I give it a place, and we're moving forward. We're not looking at that anymore. Now I have another guy in front of me, so I'm working on that, and yeah.
After that fight, like, did you think Daukaus was a logical opponent, or did you not really know who they'd give you?
No, I didn't know. So as soon as they came with an opponent, I just accept.
And then you guys were obviously supposed to fight October 1st. Like, what was the reason for it getting pushed back like 2 months?
I need more time. I needed more time, so that's it, basically.
And now, how happy are you that you are pushed back to a big pay per view in front of fans rather than just being at the Apex?
Exactly. It's also a big card. Yeah, and in front of fun fans again, and yeah, I'm ready to go. And right now, that's it. I'm ready to go.
With Chris, like he's coming off 2 straight knockout losses to Blades and Lewis. Before that, he looked very impressive. Like, what have you made of his UFC run?
I mean, he does his thing. He do his thing. Um, I don't think there's gonna be any difference. I'm looking for another win here, and I'm gonna come out gun blazing, do my thing, and yeah, I'm not really focused on what he want to bring to the table. Um, I need this one, and I'm gonna go get it. Yep.
How much pressure is on you then, just because you are coming off the 2 losses?
I don't take any pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, we all train to fight. It's always gonna be a winner or a loser. I'm want to win, always want to win, and when things goes wrong, I mean, we go again. We do it also for the fans, for our family. So I can't take any pressure from being not a winner for my two last fight. Yeah, I'm coming for this one, and yeah, I'm positive about it. I feel good about it. My camp's going good. I don't complain about anything. No injuries, nothing. So feels good.
Like 3 of your last 4 fights have been main events in 5 rounds. Like, does anything change in your preparation now that it's just back to another 3 rounder?
It definitely changed. We don't spar like 6 rounds or 5 rounds. We go 4 rounds or 3 rounds. It's more than enough. Yeah, on sparring days. So I think that's the only thing that changed.
Does the game plan at all change? Like, obviously, you don't have to pace yourself as much now that it's just 3 rounds.
Um, yes and no. You always got to be work hard every round because you want to win. There are some options you can, not options, but I mean, more things you can do in 3 rounds. You got to be do it earlier. Like instead of the second round or the third round, you're gonna do it the first round and the second round and the third round again. If you can finish the fight, I mean, put pressure and win the fight. But I mean, if you go for a fight for decision, then you got certain tactics that you gotta use. First round, second round, make sure the fight come your way.
Uh, Chris is known as a striker, but like most people that fight you, like, do you expect him to try to wrestle you?
Everybody wanna wrestle me. I expect everything from everybody, especially even if he was a striker, he's gonna try to wrestle me. Yeah. So I'll be prepared for all those stuff and yeah.
How much how much do you think your wrestling has improved? 'Cause I remember when we were talking a couple fights ago, you said I think it was at a 4, and then you brought up to a 6. Like, what do you think it is at right now?
Still think I'm a 6, and it's not. The thing is, I didn't show it yet. I didn't get a chance to show my wrestling. So, I mean, hopefully this fight I can show some wrestling and show you guys what I did in the past time, especially my ground game and stuff. So, hopefully, we'll see.
Uh, do you think you could surprise a lot of people by shooting a takedown? Like, not many people would expect you to shoot on them.
I mean, it's not that I can shoot. I can go for a takedown. Do I need to do it? I don't think so. If there is a possibility, definitely you're gonna take that shot, take that point to your side. So, but we will see. It's a good fight. I'm positive about it, and I definitely think we can make a huge fight, Chris and me. And yeah, I'm going for the win, going for the kill. That's it.
Obviously, you have a ton of power. Like, does seeing Chris get knocked out in his past 2 fights like give you confidence, or do you not really pay attention to like every fight's different?
Every fight is different, but we definitely pay attention to how we get knocked out, why you get knocked out. So those are things you gotta work on it. You gotta see it, and if you see it in the future fight, put it away. I mean, everybody, you can train everything but your chin, right?
Mm. Do you like like obviously with the pay-per-view, it is the bigger octagon. Do you like that, or do you prefer the smaller one at the Apex?
For me, man, I don't care what octagon, bigger or smaller one. I mean, we're gonna be in there, and as I say, I'm coming gun blazing. Um, I have the Biggie Boy fire in me, and I'm ready to go.
How do you kind of see this one playing out then?
I can fight every round, but any error, I put him away. That's how I see it.
You get that knockout, like where do you think that puts you in the division? Because like you'd be kind of right back to where you were before the losses.
I need this win, and then we go from there. There's a ton of guys that I didn't get yet from the even rank above me. So yeah, we'll see. There's some good fights coming up as well, like this weekend. Derek Lewis against Spivak. We'll see what's happening, then we go from there.
How many fights are left on your deal? Like, do you have more after this one?
I have four fights
Okay.
left.
And then with you too, like we've seen your power go like it lasts the entire fight. Like, how much danger do you think that makes you against Chris, where it's not like some of these heavyweights that lose their power for the first round, or where you've seen that you can knock out guys late in the fight?
I mean, that's something Chris got to be worried about. I mean, I have the power. I can carry it till the last second of the round. So I'm going to take advantage of it. As soon as I see something, I'm going to throw. I think you guys are going to see a different fight than before the upcoming fight.
And then Chris is obviously known as like a faster heavyweight. Like, do you think that speed is going to play much of a role? Because you're a pretty quick guy as well.
It's going to play a role. It's normal. He's lighter. He's going to move around. But there's nothing that I'm not used to. So, yeah.
And then just like obviously you mentioned there's some big fights coming up. Like with the heavyweight division, like I always kind of ask you, like, what are your thoughts on it? Because it's still like a lot of those top guys, even from your last fight, still haven't really fought at all.
Yeah, I don't know what happened and why everybody's stuck. But I think it's end of the year. Everybody want to take a rest. I think next year is going to be really interesting. Especially the champ's going to come back in the octagon, and I'm looking forward to what's going to happen.
Were you surprised you haven't gotten that Tybura fight rebooked? Like I thought maybe this would have been the Tybura fight, like this one instead of Daukaus, because you guys have been booked a couple times now.
That's true, but I think I don't know. Tybura was sick, and you don't want to risk any dates. So as soon as he's healthy again, he win his last fight. We're gonna see when he's ready, and then if it's possible, we do it. If not, it's all business, right?
And then what is kind of the goal then for you next year?
Of course, next year I wanna fight more times. Like it's gonna be my second fight this year, so I want to do I think 3 fights a year, and that's more of a thing for me.
And just the last thing I wanted to touch on is I know you have the YouTube channel. Like, can you kind of talk about why you decided to do that and how that's going?
The YouTube channel goes well. I'm posting a lot of content. Like when I'm back home, I'm sometimes road tripping, try to see the beautiful side of the country. Because even I used to live in Suriname, I didn't see all of it because it's big. And I'm sharing that with the people who's following me, supporting me, and I think it's a good thing to do. Let people know the country.
Do you plan to go back home after this fight? Like, is that something you always do?
Oh, definitely. It's gonna be December, Christmas. My mom and dad, my whole family's there, and I can't wait to get reunited with them.
Well, Jairzinho, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me, though.
Yeah. All right, we're jumping UFC middleweight Chris Curtis, who's back in actually UFC 282, and in a week's time now. Chris, how's it going, man?
I'm good, man. I'm fucking waiting. I can't wait to fight again, man. I hate having time off, so I'm so excited to be 1 week out.
Yeah, obviously last fight didn't go your way, like short notice fight, flew out to England on short notice, like fought a tough guy, and obviously Jack Manson. Like, what do you take away from that fight going into like these next couple fights for you?
I think the biggest thing for me is realizing that there's a difference between like people who are there to win versus people who are there to fight. I'm kind of somebody who's always, you want to win, but like, I'm always like, okay, I went into that fight thinking, we're here to fight. I was there to fight. He was more so there to win. So especially like at the higher, when you start getting in the rankings and stuff, you have to realize that people, I'm thinking one fight at a time. Just, I was going to go on this fight. I just want to fucking scrap and get down. People are thinking about, like, 2 more fights gets me a title shot and everything. So it's different mentality. And with that, people are going to approach the fight differently. So, you have to realize it. But not everybody's there to scrap with you, man. Like, some people are there to, fulfill the plan they have and whatever. So you got to keep that in mind. And sometimes you just got to go out there and accept that, like, some guys are just looking to compete and to win, get the win and go. And you got to make that adjustment.
Were you like, I know whenever we talked, you've always said like you're just at middleweight until it kind of until it kind of shit hits the fan or whatever you said, something like that. But was there ever thought of going down to welterweight after that lost Hermanson, or did you just kind of take that as short notice and you could still hang at middleweight?
No, on short notice, I got hurt once from the kick, and that was just because the foot wrapped. I felt stronger than him, like his wrestling. He couldn't take me down. I just got outreached, and it kind of sucks. We didn't expect him to fight that way, and like going into that fight is just we had a week to prepare. And on top of that week to prepare, most of my training partners were out hurt. Like Strickland and Tavares and Ty had just fought, were out injured. So going into that fight, I had Mads Burnell, who's a 45er.
Yeah.
And then Max Roshkoff, who's a 55er. Like both of them were like under 6 foot. So I mean, it was short notice. My coaches were all out of town. They were all at the UFC in Long Island. So just a lot of shit didn't come together the way we wanted. But like, from a physical standpoint, I've always fought taller guys than me. I fought guys taller than Jack and like longer than Jack. I just didn't have time to prepare. It happens. But like, I feel good at 85, man. I feel strong. And he's a top 10 guy. He's been ranked as highest top 5. And I was like, shit, man, honestly, had another round, had it been a 5-round fight, I feel like I could have won it. So no, it made me more confident, if anything. We should make some adjustments in how I approach people and like certain things in fighting. But from a physical standpoint, man, I felt great.
And then I know you're a guy that likes to fight as often as possible. Like to most fighters, like end of July to December isn't a huge layoff. Like for you, like when were you ready to get back in it? Because I imagine this is a pretty long layoff for you.
I was so pissed off. I was ready to go back right away. Like I was ready to go back immediately. But we actually like went into that fight kind of banged up. And my team and my coaches were like, we really need to like spend some time recovering. I had a very busy year, and the Adolfo camp was really hard on my body. So I kind of went into the Jack one a little bit more banged up than I would have liked. So we had an agreement, like, let's take a few months. Like, we can train still, but like, let's let some things heal up and like try to come back into the year, like healed and strong. So it's I wanted to go right away, but it was necessary to slow down and just let myself recover a little bit. I'm 35 now. I don't recover the way I used to. I don't bounce back quite as quickly, so we gotta be a little bit more mindful. Like when shit goes wrong, give it some time to heal.
And then you're obviously fighting Joaquin Buckley, and I remember when he called you out, like it kind of caught you by surprise. Like, are you surprised you are fighting him, or did you think this was gonna happen after he called you out?
No, fuck it. I lost. I was like, it was like whatever. And then I lost. Then he lost. So we're both just like, fuck it, man. Let's just fight each other. I lost a fight against a guy that was like kind of like, didn't want to engage. He lost against a fight against a guy who was happy to just kind of like disrupt him and outpoint him. So I think we're both like, fuck it, man. I want to fight. He wants to fight. I was like, we'll just go fight each other. We'll just go fucking beat each other up and like, not have to worry about the bullshit, hopefully. I ran into him about a week ago at the PI. And he's like, oh, you're not going to take me down, are you? I was like, I'll make you a deal, Joaquin. I won't shoot a shot if I don't have to chase you. You can meet me in the middle, and we will fight to the death like gentlemen. And let's see how long that holds up. I was like, bro, let's just do that. Let's forget all the bullshit. Let's just go. He's like, I want fight of the night. I was like, bro, let's go get fight of the year. Let's just go kill each other and have fun with it. So hopefully that holds up.
Why were you so surprised that he called you out?
What the fuck? It was just random. I was like, okay, man, like you were like out here, like I was fucking like, like helping you out. You should have come call me. I'm like, what the fuck did I do? Like, why? Like, it's so weird. I don't know. It was just weird to me. And then like more so because he was mad at me for helping Albert, who's like a longtime teammate, get ready for that fight, even though A, Albert's a longtime teammate, and like B, I was fighting a grappler, so I needed Albert's help anyway. And he got like offended I would help Albert train for him. And I'm like, he's my teammate and I'm fighting too. It's very strange. It's just a really weird, like, it's a weird dude.
Obviously, since the last time you fought too, you're in the rankings now. Like, are you like, obviously you're having the rankings, but like, do you kind of think, like, is this the fight you think was kind of get you in the rankings anyways? Because like, obviously you don't want to get in the rankings off a loss and just like other people losing, but like for you personally, like, do you think you just have to win to really solidify yourself as a ranked guy, or do you already consider yourself a ranked guy?
I consider myself a ranked guy. I don't give a fuck, honestly. It's like any other sport. It's like any other sport known to man. If you're ranked like number 11, and the number 10 guy like retires or leaves, you're now number 10. Like bam, like that's it. It's like any other fucking sport works that way. So I am gonna drop some shit. I'm gonna run with it. Like hey, it works in every other sport. I'm gonna take it and run with it. Like fuck it, I don't care. Like the only people who are complaining, oh, it shouldn't count, are people who've never fought a day in their fucking lives. So, like, their opinion really doesn't weigh that much to me anymore.
And then fighting close to home, Vegas, big pay-per-view. Like, how excited were you when you found out you'd be on the pay-per-view in front of fans in Vegas as well?
I really don't care about the pay-per-view thing because it doesn't really affect my pay yet. So it's not really a concern for me. I'm just happy. It's nice to be at home. Like, man, I really I disrespected how much jet lag plays a factor into things with London. I completely disrespected it. I'm like, it's 12 hours. It's not gonna make a difference. That shit kicked my ass. So it's nice to be home. Like nothing has to change for me. Like I'm more so excited. My schedule doesn't have to change on fight week, and I'm very excited about that because I disrespected the travel to London, and London smacked the shit out of me for it.
Obviously, Sean fights a week after you. Like, is that kind of the main guy you're working with? Just because obviously he's a striker, Joaquin's a striker, or like who are kind of the main guys?
Oh no, Sean and Joaquin have nothing to do with each other. Actually, I haven't worked with Sean really much at all this camp, just because Joaquin's shorter than I am.
Yeah.
And like it's just there's no carryover in that, and like he's fighting Cannonier, and Cannonier and I have like no carryover aside for both blacks, so it's just like no, we've got our own separate camps for this one. He's still in the room, we'll still work together, but he's definitely not one of my primary people. We need to go out and get some shorter, more athletic striker wrestlers for this one. So it's nice though because he's still. Even though we're not like doing all our stuff together, he's still in the room running his mouth and still a guy pushing you. So it's still good to have that in the room. And we just had like Sadibu fight last week, and then I'm up, and then Sean's up. So we've had like a train of guys fighting like back to back to back. Cause the room's been freaking awesome.
I know you mentioned a bit earlier that Joaquin came up and asked you to not to shoot, but do you think at some point like he might shoot on you if you're laying some good shots on the feet?
He can try. Everyone tries, but like it hasn't been that successful. And like I don't think I've been taken down in the last 2 years. Actually, I haven't been taken down since PFL.
Yeah, which is
I haven't given up a takedown in PFL. So you can shoot if you want. It's cool, but like, A, if you shoot, you're a timid soul, and B, it's not going to matter anyway.
Which is pretty crazy considering you fought like Brendan Allen, Phil Hawes, Vieira, like all in Hermanson, like your past four opponents, all your four opponents are all like grappling.
Yeah, it makes sense making the camp switch full time to Extreme Couture. I've definitely had a renaissance for like my wrestling, and like they've been really adamant about like having not just like work on takedown defense, but making me wrestle. Like, God, I wrestle like 4 times a week now, maybe about 4 times a week now. And it's not just, like I always came up from place gyms they're making me do like takedown defense. Like, no, like now I like actually wrestle like offensively and defensively 4 days a week. It just gets you more comfortable with it to where, you're not training takedown. When you just train takedown defense, like it kind of becomes a thing to really, I have to defend and blah, blah, blah. And if you don't defend, then it's a loss because all you did was train to like stop that. Now it's just like, if you take me down, I don't care because I'm just going to keep wrestling. And that's my mentality now. Like, you're not going to get me down, but if you somehow do, I'm just going to keep wrestling. So it's definitely made a huge difference in my ability to wrestle.
You're the betting underdog in this fight. Does that surprise you? Because I was surprised.
Oh, my God. Whatever, man. Like, Vegas doesn't know shit. I don't care. Like, you lose one fight. Everybody's like, oh, I'm the worst guy in the world. I come in, like, blow through 3 people. And they go, oh, then you lose one fight on 2 weeks' notice. Everybody's like, oh, you suck. Like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm not fighting Jesus, guys. Like, who cares? Like, this is why I don't bet anyway. Because like my favorite thing ever is when people like message me like, "I bet against you and I lost money." I'm like, "Good, like die homeless." Like I don't care. It's like screw it, bet against me. I don't care. Like I hope you lose everything.
And then the other thing that surprised me is how low you guys are on the card. Like I thought this is one of the better fights on the card. Like, are you surprised by where they kind of put you?
You know what? That's Mick Maynard, and I don't pretend to understand the minds of madmen. So he's got a method to his madness. So just who the fuck cares, man? Like it's whatever. I was kind of salty at first, and then it was like Paddy Pimblett's co-main event. I'm like, what? And then I laughed at it when I realized, like, I went to London and fought co-main event in Paddy's backyard. Now he's in my backyard as a co-main event. And I'm like, you know what? That's fair. Like, that's turnabout's fair play, Paddy Pimblett. I took my hat to you. So, fuck it is what it is. I get to get in, get out, be done early. I'm not mad.
Yeah, when you fight like this early, like, do you try to hang around the arena and watch it, or you just head back home right away?
And I go home. Like, fuck that. I'm hungry. Like, I don't, like, you finish the fight, you're tired, you're kind of like sore, you're like starving. Yeah, I leave. I never hang around and watch. Like, nah, man, I'm just trying to get my stuff, go home, get some ice cream, get a pizza, and just chill.
With Joaquin, like obviously a ton of knockout power, like a striker. Like, how do you kind of see this one playing out?
If all goes well, man, like hopefully hopefully this will be a war, because like just watching fights, he's got knockout power, but it's only with guys he can bully. Or if you're stupid enough to hold on to a kick that you should never have held on to. That's like his highlight thing, right? The super kick. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, "Oh, what do you think about that?" I was like, well, that guy was an idiot for holding on to his foot, which is like, I don't know who taught you to do that, but like whatever. But outside of that, like, what big knockouts do you know of with Joaquin?
Yeah, he finished Jordan Wright and Antonio Arroyo, who I think are both
Jordan Wright Jordan Wright's never been good.
Yeah, and I think Arroyo got cut too after that fight.
Yeah, so I mean, he's got good power. He's got good power, but he's not a guy who's gonna knock you out in one punch. He's a guy who will try to bully you and to beat you up. But I'm like one of the toughest people known to fucking man, like, you know, and I've got one of the best defenses, and not only 85, I think one of the best defenses in the sport in general. So I don't think that's going to go the same way. I've got a slightly higher output than him, and I've been working on that a lot more for this camp. So hopefully, man, if all goes well, we both leave this, and we both leave the cage on stretchers. Like, that's what I want. Like, I want my like knockdown, drag out, bloody war. I'm hoping he gives it to me. I don't expect him to. I expect him to like look to shoot and whatever when shit goes wrong. But I'm hoping he gives me the war that I want. But I'm expecting it not to go that way, so I'm prepared for that. But if all goes well, it will.
Do you talk to Albert about what he kind of felt or what he saw in there? Or do you kind of disregard that just because he obviously has a much different game plan than what you do?
I didn't talk to him about it. Like me and Albert are very different people. Albert definitely comes from like he's definitely more of a grappler, as I'm a striker. And like in that fight, man, I think Albert just things didn't go the way he like early. They didn't go his way early, and I think he got frustrated. And he's kind of getting touched more. And then I think he was fine. Just like once his eye kind of got messed up, he kind of like his game plan fell apart, and that happens. But I've been boxing since I was a kid. I've been fighting since I was a kid. I've gone through fights with my eyes closed, cut up, whatever. Like that shit doesn't bother me. Like as long as I can see something, I can hit you, I'm fine. I'm not worried about it. That's not going to discourage me. You take me down, I'm going to get up. It's not going to discourage me. So like, my game plan has always been style-wise a game plan of attrition. So I'm okay with like spots of the fight not going my way. It's fine. It happens. But like, in my head, I always get it back. So I can't really put too much faith into that. Like, Joaquin had a very good fight. It was good. I praise him for it. It's a really fucking good fight. But it's not going to go that way.
You get past Joaquin. Like, what do you think that does for you? Like, obviously, you're already in the rankings. I imagine probably rank guy next for you.
I don't think it really does anything. It doesn't move me anywhere. It's just, it's just kind of one of those fights. I think like if you're like, 15, 14, and 13 in the rankings, you have to kind of defend your ranking, I think, a little bit more than people who are higher up against guys coming in. So it's just part of being, the bottom part of the rankings. You just got to defend it. I defend it, and then who the fuck knows? We'll see what happens with Jack. Maybe if all goes well. I don't really know, but like I do want to fight Jack again, so I got to figure out how to finagle that and make it happen. But I'm not really worried about it right now. Like I said, I still look at every fight one fight at a time, and once we win, we'll see what comes next.
That is something I want to ask about, is obviously rematching Jack. Like, if that happens, are you hoping it's 5 rounds if you do get a rematch with him?
I don't even care. I would love to fight Jack 5 rounds. God, he was so tired the 3rd round. I'd love to fight Jack 5 rounds. Just for me in general, it's just, I've always been really experienced in fighting. I've always kind of banked, like, especially lately, like these last like 2 years, on like taking stuff short notice, because I'm like, okay, like I just have the experience to like make it work. And Jack's very experienced himself. This is just the first time that, like, I couldn't lean on my experience to like carry me through, like, from beginning to end. And we just didn't have time to make adjustments. So that's a fight I still feel I win 9 out of 10 times. So I would love to get it back. If he beats me again, fuck it, I was wrong. But in my heart of hearts, I feel like this is a fight I win. Give me 4 weeks to prepare, and I win it.
I remember when I talked to you before that fight, you said you didn't want to lose, so Sean couldn't hold that over you. Have you made fun of you about that?
Yes, you definitely heard shit from that. I've heard shit from Sean. I've heard shit from Kamzat. I'm like, fuck both of you guys. Like, all right, like. So yeah, Sean and Kamzat have definitely dug into me about it, but it's fine. Like, it's one of those things to where some nights it's just not your night, man. It was we took a lot of risks, didn't pay off. I walked out of the fight unhurt, physically, like nothing went wrong. It's just kind of didn't perform the way we wanted. But if that's the loss I take with no time to prepare, no coaches, whatnot, I'm like, give me 4 weeks and I win that fight.
Just 3 more things. Like, what is kind of the goal then for you next year? Like, imagine it's get like 4 or 5 fights. Like, you want to fight as often as possible.
Yeah, man. I would love to get 5 fights next year. I would love to get 5 fights next year. I want to, bang out like 2 fights, take a short break, bang out 2 fights, short break in the year. That'd be perfect for me. So if I can get 5 fights next year, like, that would be just everything I want in life right now.
And then obviously in your division, we had the champ lose his belt, and then obviously someone you train with in Hamzat is calling for Pereira. Like, how do you think he would match up against Alex? I think that's probably one of the better matchups for him at 85.
Assuming he doesn't get hit, man, he rolls through him. Because, like, man, Alex. Then again, everyone's saying Alex's team is saying he was hurt going into the fight. I don't know, but like, just from a technical standpoint, I think his wrestling is really, really bad. Like, really, like, that's a fight. Looking at it, like, man, Sean should have won that fight really easily. Like, because, like, I mean, his wrestling was not impressive at all. So I think Hamzat wins that fight. I think Sean should have won that fight. Like, so yeah, his wrestling's a very, very, very big liability. But he's also proven that once it was Sean, you got to get to him first. But if you can get to him, if you can get through the punches and get a hold of him, I think he's gonna have a rough go of it. Shit, I think Whitaker gives him a problem, honestly.
Do you think Hamzat's better at 170 or 85?
70. He's such a weight bully at 70. At 85, I think it kind of gets interesting because you get guys start getting as big as him or a little bit bigger. He's a big fucking dude. At 70, he's just the biggest dude in the division by far. Like, I mean, like, people say weight bully like it's a negative. I'm like, fuck, if you're bigger than somebody, you use it to your advantage. So I think he's just so big that, like, at 70, it's hard to fight a guy that big.
And just the final thing I want to touch on is obviously Sean's fight a week after you, the main event against Jared. Like, how do you kind of see that one playing out? Because they were matched up before, and I think it's like obviously the fun fight on paper for them two to go at it.
I think Sean has a lot of ways to win this fight. I think he's got more ways to win than Jared does. But Jared also, apparently hits like a freaking tank. So just a matter of Sean being smart, being patient, and it goes, sorry, coming down for practice. It goes back to what I talked about earlier with fighting to fight versus fighting to win. If Sean fights to win this fight, I think he can win it pretty easily. It's just, I mean, he's one of the best dudes you'll see in the room. If he fights this fight to fight, now we're talking about, there's some danger because, like, Jared touches you, Jared can hurt you. So he should do well in this if he fights with his head instead of his pride.
Do you think he kind of learned that lesson against Alex? Or do you think that's just kind of who he is? Or he always just
it's just who Sean is. It's just who Sean is. So it's for everyone else to toss up. We're like, we know Sean's gonna win, but like, what's he gonna do when he goes out there? We're all like, I don't know. People always ask, what's Sean gonna do? We're just like, bro, we're a corner shot just in the corner. Like, all right, he'll do whatever the fuck he wants at the time. So we'll see. But I think he's looking to get back on track and get everything. So I think he's gonna go out there. He's gonna be smart. He's gonna be Sean, but I think he'll be smart about it.
Well, Chris, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, no problem at all, man. It's got to talk to you.
Yeah. All right, we're joined by Bellator's Danny Sabatello, who's fighting for that interim belt here. Danny, how's it going, man?
Going good, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Obviously, a big fight here. Interim belt against Rafion Stotts. Obviously, the build-up has been pretty intense. Like, how excited are you now that we're just, 2 or 3 weeks away now from it?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fucking pumped. You know, the second that Higo fight ended, I was already looking forward to smashing Stotts' face. It's been a little bit of a while now. You know, that Higo fight was months and months ago. But I've really had the opportunity to zone in on some good techniques and everything that I'll be able to do and showcase in this fight against Stotts. But obviously, with it being 3.5-ish weeks out, I'm more than pumped to go fuck this guy up December 9th at the Mohegan Sun.
Oh, with Rafion, like, you obviously mentioned that you weren't too impressed with the Archuleta fight. Like, what did you make of his performance there?
Yeah, I didn't think he looked very good. Obviously, in that fight against Archuleta, I thought he was losing both rounds going into that third round. He got lucky with a head kick. He actually hit them with his knee. It wasn't even the foot or the shin that did it. Archuleta went in for a takedown, and it was just terrible timing. So I think he looked sloppy. I didn't think he looked as good as Archuleta. But obviously, he got the win, and anything can happen in this crazy sport of mixed martial arts. And he did get lucky with the win. He looked okay. I wasn't too impressed. I think those are both two guys that I beat the shit out of. But yeah, again, I'm just very fortunate that I get to prove myself against a guy like Stotts, because I know that a lot of people think that he's very good and they think that he's one of the best bantamweights on the planet. So what an opportunity for me to go out there to not just beat this guy, but to make it violent, make it bloody, drag him into deep water, and then get the finish.
He is undefeated in Bellator. Like, have you been impressed with any of his performances then?
Not really. I don't really see where people think that he's very good. He's kind of more of an all-around fighter. He's good in every situation and every scenario. He's pretty good on the feet, pretty good on the ground, pretty good striking, pretty good wrestling, pretty good jiu-jitsu, but he doesn't excel in any particular area. And that's where I think that I'm just going to be able to showcase my skills are better than his, because I'm better than him in every other area. If you look at my last fight against Higo, it's a very dangerous fight because Higo is so good on the ground. He can snatch up your neck or get you in an armbar or leg lock at any moment in the fight. So you kind of have to be a little bit careful. But against a guy like Stotts, I can very much open up and take risks and take chances, because the risk and the reward is just so rewarding if I do open up. And obviously the risk isn't that great there because he doesn't have that many finishing capabilities. So I think it's going to be a very exciting fight. It's not going to be like the fight I had against Higo, where I kind of just had to play it safe and play it smart and just dominated him and beat the shit out of him. I think I can open up more against Stotts because he doesn't have any finishing capability. So it's going to be a very exciting fight. I see it being one of the fights of the year. I'm glad that it's 5 rounds, so we can have maybe 5 rounds of just pure anarchy, but I do see myself finishing before that 5th round.
Where do you think Rafion is good then? Just because a lot of his wins are by getting just decisions with his wrestling.
I would say he's probably more of a grappler than a striker. I think he's better on the ground than he is on the feet, but I think he just gets his wins just because he's elite everywhere. Obviously, he doesn't have that many finishes just because he's not too much of a stud in any type of scenario. The guys that he's been going up against aren't the best. He's not faced the elite of the elite. And then when he did get tested against somebody like Archuleta, who is one of the top maybe 4 guys in the division, he got exposed and was losing that entire fight. So I think, again, it's just a great opportunity for me because people are hyping him up. They think he's very fucking good. I don't see it. And now that he does have a fighter like me going against him, somebody that's so much better than him, I think I'm just going to expose him even more. And again, I keep saying this entire time, I'm not just going to beat him. It won't be a win in my book if I just beat him. It'll be a win in my book if I fucking slice him open, give him stitches, give him scars, and just absolutely dominate this motherfucker. Because I know that I should. This is a fight where it's not going to be a tough, grindy fight. I should go out there and it's 50-50. This is a fight where I'm so much better than the guy. I should dominate him, and I will.
And then when we talked before your last fight, you were mentioning how you obviously had to be worried about Higo's grappling just because he is so dangerous on the ground. Like, where do you think Rafion presents any danger then to you?
No, I don't see any type of scenario where he could get a finish. Obviously, this is mixed martial arts, and the fight can end at any time. Anybody can get knocked out by anybody. Anybody can just slip into a guillotine or anything like that. So obviously, something could happen. I could slip on a banana peel, but the odds of that happening just aren't very great. I don't see him having any openings where my defense is not intact. I'm a very good defensive fighter. I'm a very good offensive fighter, but one of my best things is recognizing danger and realizing, what, keep your composure if you're ever in a bad situation. One good thing about that happened to me last fight was that second round against Higo. He had my back, and whenever you have somebody like Leandro Higo, who's an absolute stud in jiu-jitsu on your back, you're in a lot of trouble. And it was good for me to face that type of adversity. That's something that I never really felt. And I really liked how I responded to that. I kept my composure. I kept calm. I defended everything. And that's very key. You need to have those type of moments in the cage. You could be in practice and get in bad situations. You can run through situations in your mind, but you never really know how exactly you're going to react until you're locked in that cage. The spotlight is on and the crowd is watching. And I responded very good. It brings my confidence even more to where in this fight, if I am ever in a little bit of danger, if I do get stumbled, if I do get hit in the head and I'm a little rumbly, or he does have my back, I could say to myself, listen, I've been here before. I've been here with somebody even better than Stotts with Higo. So again, I don't see myself being in any type of scenario where he has the opening to get lucky. But again, you never know. This is mixed martial arts. This isn't football where if you mess up for a split second, they get a touchdown and then you just get the ball back. No, in mixed martial arts, you slip up for a second, the fight's fucking over. But again, he's going to have to get pretty fucking lucky to get a finish against me.
Do you think Rafion is the best guy you fought, or where do you kind of rank him then if he isn't?
I would say that he's on par with Higo. I'd say him and Higo are pretty similar. Very different fighting styles. Higo can actually put you away and is very dangerous. But in terms of just skill, I would say he's on par with Higo. But I think Brett Johns is the best guy that I've ever fought. But obviously styles make fights, and different styles are different type of stylistic matchups are harder for some people. So, we won't really know until I get into that cage with him December 9th at the Mohegan Sun. So obviously I do think I'm so much better than him, because if you do look at what I did to Brett Johns on 4 days notice, I dominated him. That's similar to what I feel like I'm going to do against Stotts. But if those two are on the similar wavelength in terms of skill, then I should be able to go out there and dominate Stotts. But yeah, I think maybe he's a little bit of step up from Higo. It's tricky and hard to say that because Higo can actually fucking finish you. Higo's fought for the belt. Higo has stellar jiu-jitsu. Stotts doesn't have stellar anything. So it's hard to rank him. I don't really know. I'll be able to answer that question after I rip his fucking face off December 9th. But I see him kind of on par with Higo.
Do you generally dislike him, or is it more just like he's your opponent, so you kind of have to get in that mode?
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely dislike this motherfucker. I've disliked him for a while. Obviously, anytime I go inside this cage with somebody, it's going to be personal. I'm going to fucking hate the guy no matter who it is. That's just going to be who I am throughout my entire career. I don't know how these guys go in this cage and are friends with these guys. They slap hands, they hug. This guy's trying to take away your hopes and your dreams. This guy's trying to fucking bounce your head on the canvas in front of millions of people. So fuck that. I'm not going to be friends with you. You're going to be my enemy. But this fight specifically, it just feels like I'm a little bit more tuned up for it. I don't like the type of person that he is. Every time I go on Instagram and somebody in the fighting world makes a post, he's always the first one commenting and liking it and trying to be buddy and fake and friends with everybody. And that's just the opposite of who I am. I don't really give a fuck about anyone unless you're my friend or my family or my teammate or my coach. But yeah, that's just, I'm not really a fan of somebody like him. And that's just trying to be fake with everybody, act like oh, you're my brother, I love you so much, and always commenting on people's picks and needs everybody's approval and needs to be friends with everybody. That's just not who I am. I'm the opposite. And I think that's what makes this fight so exciting is we're just very different, opposite people. We're two people that absolutely hate each other, and we're two people that want to make this fight very violent. This isn't a fight that's going to be a dud. Obviously, I've said before in this interview that I can open up on this motherfucker because he doesn't have any finishing capabilities. So I am very much looking forward to this being a violent, bloody affair. It's not going to be bloody on my end. I see myself fucking slicing his face open. Obviously, it's going to be a full MMA fight. This isn't going to be just a grappling match or a striking match. This is going to be a full MMA fight. I'm going to get him tired. I'm going to get him bloody, and then I'm going to fucking finish him.
And then his trash talking, like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you obviously have a lot of thoughts on his trash talking abilities.
Yeah, I think that his trash talking absolutely fucking sucks. All he does is stutter, and he's not very funny. But the good thing is he does talk trash. I like it when my opponent does talk trash and engage in that. Obviously, it's good for the fans, but I like to see how they react to what I say, and I always have him reacting. I think I'm already in his head. 5 minutes after I beat the shit out of Higo, I was right in Stotts' face, and I had my middle finger in his face for about 5 seconds, and he didn't do shit. One thing that I always believe in is mental warfare. That's half the reason that I do talk this shit, and I think I'm already in his head. I was in his head from the start of this fucking fight being announced, and I've been in his head this entire time. I keep having him react, and I have him talking more and more trash. I can tell by his mannerisms that he's already scared. I already know how it's going to go December 9th. He's going to act like he's very excited. He's going to be shouting. He's going to be loud. He's going to have a lot of nervous energy, but I can tell who he is and how he acts and how he's going to be way more scared. This is a fight for him where he's never had an opponent like Danny Sabatello, the Italian gangster. He knows that I'm going to be in his face talking to him this entire time. There's nothing fake about me, and I'm just going to go in there and bash his fucking face in. Finally, he has an opponent that's going to be his absolute enemy and talking trash and getting in his head. And you know what? I think he's going to break. The lights are going to be very, very bright for him. This is going to be one of the fights of the year. This is probably going to be the biggest fight in Bellator this year, and I think he's going to really feel that.
With this fight too, like obviously you get in a lot of people's heads. Like, how do you think that he's going to do that? Because this seems like the first fight where like he genuinely doesn't like you and he's kind of angered his opponent. We've seen that with a lot of people where then they kind of just rush things. They don't fight to their best ability.
Yep, absolutely. And that's exactly what I've wanted. This is exactly part of the game plan and the mental warfare. Whenever you get this guy's central nervous system and his nerves a little bit spiked up, he's going to want to absolutely kill me. He's going to want to murder me this first round. He's going to be chasing for the finish. And whenever you don't keep your composure and you have all that nervous energy and you just are always chasing for the finish, you get tired. And this is a 5 fucking round fight. I have the best cardio in MMA. So that's kind of one of the game plans going into this is getting him a little bit tired, having him have all this nervous energy. I'm already in his head, and I've already set him in his head because I have him hating me. That's fucking great. He's never really hated an opponent, and this is foreign territory to him. This is foreign territory that he has another opponent talking trash and getting in his head. And it's not anything different for me. I'm right at home. This is home to me. Talking trash, getting in these guys' heads is what I fucking do. So in terms of fighting, when it comes to December 9th, nothing's going to change on my end. I'm going to keep my composure. I'm just going to go in there like a stone cold fucking killer. And he's going to fight a little bit different because this is different for him. This is foreign territory to him. I don't know exactly how he's going to act, but he's going to be a little bit of a different fighter December 9th. And that's what I make these fucking guys do. I make them fight different when they fight Danny Sabatello. And if you look at my opponent's fights, they all fight a little bit different when they fight me. And that's because of the mental warfare that I put on them before the fight.
How much do you think your wrestling is going to play a role in this fight? Just because Rafael is so used to being the guy that goes forward and the one like taking people down where not many people shoot on him. So obviously that's going to be a change for him to deal with.
Yeah, obviously my wrestling is very good, and it's going to be a lot better than his. My grappling is going to be better than his. I think one thing that he isn't going to understand is that my striking is so much better than his. I haven't really utilized my striking too much in Bellator just because I've been so much better than the guys on the ground. There's been really no need for it. But once he feels that my striking is better than his, I actually think that he might be the first one to shoot. And then once I put my type of wrestling on him and my pressure and everything like that on him, I think that's when he's slowly going to start to break. I think he's going to get a little bit desperate. And then chase for the finish even more. I think he's going to come to a point in that second roundish, maybe the end of the second, beginning of the third. He's going to realize, oh, fuck, he's in over his head. My striking is way better than he anticipated. My grappling is better than his. And then that's when he's going to slowly start to get more tired, because then he's going to have to make some things happen. He's going to be already down 2 or 3 rounds, and he's going to have to do something. And then that's when the opening for me is just going to keep widening. And then I'm not going to just try to get him out of there. I do want to torture him. I do want to make it bloody. And then I do want to absolutely get the finish. But the wrestling and the grappling, it's going to play a major key factor in this fight, like it does in every single one of my other fights. But so will the stand-up. Every single fight, every single round, the fight starts and the round starts on your feet. So maybe it'll go on the feet. Maybe it'll go on the ground. I can promise you that it will be both on the feet and the ground. This will be a full fight, not boxing, not a boxing match or a wrestling match. This will be an MMA fight.
His one loss is Merab knock him out in like 15 seconds. Like, little hypothetical, would you like that to happen, or would you rather you get a finish like later in the fight so you can kind of beat him up for a while?
Yeah, I want to torture him. I want to have him very afraid of me the rest of his life. I want him to have nightmares of me the rest of his life. I do need to leave permanent damage on him. I want stitches on his face, and I want scars on his face. So ideally, I would want to torture him before I got him out of there. Obviously, you couldn't be too upset with a quick finish. I'll take it. I'll still be happy. Anytime you got to win in this fucking sport, you got to be happy. You got to enjoy it no matter how it came. So obviously, I would be happy if it was a first-round finish. But ideally, a perfect picture for me is torturing him for about 4 rounds, 3 rounds, and then getting the finish. And I don't really care how the finish comes, whether it's a choke, whether it's a submission, a knockout, a TKO. Ideally, I hope it is a TKO. I want to bash my fucking elbow through his skull repeatedly about 15 times. When the ref is coming to get me off of him, I hope he slips and I get a couple extra blows on him. But that's just me. That's just how I see it playing out. That's how I want it to play out. But, my jiu-jitsu is also very good, so maybe I get a choke. My hands and my legs are very good. Maybe I get a head kick knockout. Maybe I get a 1-2 punch knockout. I don't know. We'll see.
And then also on the same card is the other semifinal matchup between Magomedov and Patchy Mix. How do you see that one kind of playing out?
Yeah, I think both those guys aren't very high level. They both have a set game plan where if they don't get to where they need to be, they look very sloppy. Patchy, if he doesn't get that body lock with his legs around you when he has when he has your back and he has that figure 4, if he doesn't get there, he's a fish out of water. His striking's not very good. He'll sometimes go for a guillotine like he did against James Gallagher about 17 times. But again, he's very sloppy if he doesn't have your back, so he's not very good. And then Magomed, I just don't see that he has any basic skills. A lot of his attacks are based around spinning. He does a lot of spinning attacks, which are very dangerous in MMA. They can put your lights out at any time, but I don't really think he has the key fundamentals to be an elite fighter. So I think those are 2 sloppy guys, 2 not very good guys, 2 guys that aren't just on my level at all. I think me and Stotts are actually both better than those guys. I think my side of the bracket is so much harder than the other side of the bracket. In terms of that fight, I don't really care. I don't really give a shit who the fuck wins that fight. They both suck. They're both going to get bounced by me. But if I had to pick, I would say slightly I give the edge to Magomed. But again, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Patchy won either. Both those guys can go fuck themselves.
And then obviously that's the finals. Like, you were Magomed, if that is how it plays out, you're pretty confident that you become the interim champ anyways in this one. So then the next fight would be Sergio. I know when we've talked in the past, you don't think he's going to fight you. Do you still think that's true? If you win this tournament, he's going to vacate that belt?
Yep, absolutely. I don't think he's going to want to fight me. I will say that this shit does end with Sergio Pettis. I need to fight him. I think Bellator will have my back when the time comes. When he somehow doesn't want to fight me and fakes another fucking injury or whatever the fuck he does, I think Bellator will say, hey, listen, either you got to fight him when you're healed up or you got to relinquish the belt. So hopefully, I do think I hopefully will fight him eventually. I think that we're going to have to go through a lot of bullshit because he knows that I'm just going to fuck him up. Right when I got into Bellator, I was chirping at him and I was talking shit to him just because I've been licking my chops at that motherfucker for a while. And he was engaging in it. He was talking trash back. But after a couple of my fights and him seeing how dangerous I actually am and how much of a cold-blooded fucking killer I am, he hasn't said shit. So I think he's pretty fucking scared. Again, I know that this shit will end with me and Sergio. This doesn't end when I win this Grand Prix tournament and beat either Patchy or Magomed. This shit ends with Sergio. I'm just hopeful that he's a fucking man and he'll eventually fight me.
And then just last thing, like you win this fight, you are the interim champion. Like, does that mean anything winning this interim belt, or is it more just a notch and it's all about getting that undisputed?
Yeah, this fight is absolutely huge. This fight means everything to me. This is the actual fucking title. You know, Sergio Pettis, I've been saying for a while, is not the fucking champion. What he is a little bitch. He's a scared little pussy. That's what he is. Stotts is the champion of this division. You know, he made it to this Grand Prix tournament, which is a genius fucking idea, which is great to see who the best in the fucking world is. And that's, you know, Stotts has the belt right now, period. I don't want to hear shit about anything else. So obviously this is a massive fight. This is for the actual belt. I will look at this as this is the fight for the actual belt, and then I'll be defending my belt in the finals. But yeah, honestly, I think this is going to be the biggest fight of my life. This is a massive, huge fight. I know for Bellator, this is absolutely massive. This is the main event. This is the last fight of the year. This is going to be absolutely huge. And honestly, I've never been more excited for a fight than I am right now against Stotts.
Actually, just one more quick thing. You get to listen to the commission at all and not swear?
Yeah, we're going to have to see. You know, I think it's funny that I am back at that Mohegan Sun inside that Connecticut commission. They obviously don't like me. They don't like my mannerisms. But honestly, I don't give a fuck. One thing I always say is I will always be myself. I don't give a fuck about money. I don't really give a shit about the fucking fines either. We're just going to have to find out December 9th what happens.
Well, Danny, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yep. Thank you, bro.
Yep. All right. We're joined by UFC featherweight Billy Q, who's finally back in action. Billy, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great, Cole. Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, I always enjoy talking to you. Like, obviously, you're a long layoff, like, haven't fought since the MSG card last November. You're obviously supposed to fight Bill on that Long Island card. Like, how, like, disappointing was that for you to pull out fighting so close to home in Long Island?
Oh my God, it was terrible. It was the only time I've ever had to pull out of a fight before in my entire career. It was terrible. I don't even want to think about it really. But yeah, it's been a really long year, and I was actually having a really good training camp going into that fight. But then I got hurt, and I had to take a lot of time off, which was very frustrating. But obviously, part of the sport, what we signed up for. I've actually been kind of lucky to that being the first fight that I've had to pull out of. But I'm going to make up for it in December. So with that being said, you know, as frustrating as it was not fighting this summer, I learned a lot. I had a great training camp. I've had 2 training camps now. So I pretty much had this full year to get ready for whoever they decided to match me up with. And obviously Alex Hernandez is the lucky guy that gets to fight me at a full year training camp, a lot better than I was last fight. So I'm super excited for this one.
Were you surprised they never just rebooked you and Bill after the Long Island fight?
A little bit. I thought it was going to be a good matchup for both of us. I thought it was going to be a fun fight, but I don't really ask questions like that with the UFC. They do their own thing, and I basically told them that I was ready to go. I was injured in June and July, but when I was good to go, I said I was actually trying to get on that Orlando card because I could have like literally driven to the venue, but they asked me if I wanted to fight Alex Hernandez, and I thought like my manager was like getting the name wrong or, you know, get the wrong person wrong because he's not even a featherweight. But when they cleared that up, I was super excited about it. I think he's a very dangerous opponent, and it's a great fight for me. It's a great fight for the fans, great matchup, and yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, like how surprised were you? Because like when I saw it, I thought, oh, you must be moving up to lightweight. Like I thought like maybe that was it, like after the time off, like maybe you're just moving up for a fight. Like I did not think like you would have been one of the last guys I would have picked to move down a weight class.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too because he seemed like he's a pretty thick 155er. And I heard stories that he was trying to go down to 45 before, and they didn't think it was a great idea. And when they asked me about it, he wasn't even on my radar at all. I actually thought my teammate Matt Frivola was going to fight him at one point So I watched him a little bit, back in the day, obviously like the Cowboy fight and some of his bigger fights that he's had. But yeah, I think I'm a really bad matchup for him to come down a weight class and to fight someone with the type of pace and the type of output that I always bring to the table. And yeah, I said yes right away, and here we are.
Yeah, what have you made of his UFC run? Like comes in on short notice, like knocks out Dariush in like 40 seconds, but then kind of ever since then he's been like very up and down.
Yeah, I will say this. I'll give him credit because he has one of the toughest resumes of most of the fighters that I've seen. Definitely one of the tougher resumes of anyone that I've fought. So he's battle tested. I think that he couldn't really hack it with the top 10, top 15 guys at lightweight. So he's thinking it's going to be an easier road to cut down to 50 or to cut down to featherweight and start his run at featherweight. And I'm looking at it like it's my job to keep this guy out of the featherweight contender rankings, and a win over him puts me right back where I want to be, right in the top 15 range. Gives me an opportunity to fight another one of the best guys in the world, and I can kind of start my run up at for that 145-pound belt.
And then with Alex, like, well, not even just with Alex, like most fighters, they cut down in weight. Like you see their cardio kind of go later on. Like, so do you kind of think like you're one of the worst matchups for him just because everyone knows how good your cardio is? And like, if he does cut a lot of weight and starts to fade, like it's probably not going to go well for him.
Yeah, I that's really how I look at it. I'm expecting I'm expecting and preparing for the best Alex Hernandez, because I'd be stupid not to. I can't have it in the back of my mind that he's going to gas out, because I'm sure he's thought about that too, and he's preparing himself harder than he did before. But I think it probably sounded good to him to make this the weight cut when we announced it. But the closer it gets, and the more he has to cut, and his body's going to feel a lot different than it does at 155. I'm excited to kind of expose that a little bit. I'm very hard to finish. He seems like he does really well in those fights that he goes out there and gets big knockouts early. And my style's always the same. I'm trying to drag him to deep waters, make it a grimy, grueling fight. And against someone like him, it matches up perfectly for me.
How do you think his power is going to translate? Because that was kind of his big thing at lightweight, is he always kind of had that one punch. He was never really out of a fight, but like obviously cutting 10 more pounds. Like, how do you think his power is going to translate to 45?
Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of power. So I think he's going to be strong. I think he's going to be powerful. He's got a really good camp. He's got really good coaches, obviously, that have helped him get this far. But I've fought guys. I fought big punchers before. Burgos, obviously a big puncher. Kama Worthy. Kyle Nelson, Spike Carla. All those guys have knockout power, and I don't think it's going to be enough to overcompensate him cutting all that weight, him having to trade with me, him having to wrestle, having to strike, having to deal with my pressure and the type of fight that I'm going to bring to him.
You've also never lost 2 in a row in your career. Like, what kind of changes for you after a loss? Because you see some people lose and they just kind of lose a lot of confidence, start going on those skids.
Yeah, never lost 2 fights in a row, and I don't plan on doing it in December. And this layoff might have been a blessing in disguise, just giving me enough time to really reflect and do everything that I need to do to beat a guy like Alex Hernandez, who was in the top 15 for years at lightweight. And obviously he's trying to come down to 45, trying to go on that run, trying to be a contender. So I'm doing everything I can do to beat him. And I know if I stick to my game plan, if I do everything that I've been doing, if I do everything that I do in my training camps, it's going to be a pretty decisive victory for me.
And then you get told, like, obviously the opponent's a big one, but then also Vegas year-end pay-per-view. And then you kind of start seeing the card get built out, like probably one of the best cards they've done. Like the October, November, December pay-per-views, like are probably top 3 for me. So like, how excited are you when you kind of see it? Like, it kind of sucks that you get moved further down the card, then you kind of see who else is on the card.
Yeah, that's obviously being on the early prelims. I wasn't super excited about that, especially coming from the Madison Square Garden main card last year, which is a huge pay-per-view, kind of getting demoted to the early prelims. And especially, he's been on some big fights too. So it is what it is, but I can't have it both ways. Everyone's like, oh man, that sucks. You had to fight behind Gagey and Chandler last year. It took a lot of steam away from it because you had to fight after them. So I can't have it both ways. I love being on main cards and big fights. That's why I do this. But being on this card, it's super cool. And I know I can go out there, get a huge finish early in the night, and people will still talk about it no matter what because it's going to be on that big pay-per-view. And my plan is to go out there and try to steal the show, get a big knockout, get a big submission, and then I can go back to my locker room, go back to my hotel, relax, watch the rest of the fights, and hopefully get a bonus.
And then I guess another positive, though, was in front of fans. Like, are you a bit worried they might have sent you back to the Apex?
Yeah, that's actually that was one of the reasons when they announced the UFC Orlando card. I was like, yeah, get me on here. It's a fight night, but it's with fans, and it's kind of in like my adopted hometown, right outside of Tampa. So I'm cool with fans. I know obviously Vegas isn't going to be popping off for the early prelims. There'll be some people, obviously a bunch of people there, but it's not going to be like sold out like MSG was at that early in the night or that early in the day because it's going to be in Vegas time. But either way, it beats the Apex. Just having that big fight feel, I couldn't be more excited.
With Alex, then, like you kind of mentioned, you're looking to kind of steal the show with a finish. How do you see it playing out then?
I think he's going to come out super aggressive, and my job is to stay composed, stick to my game plan. Obviously, been working on a lot of different things, and whether I clip him when he's trying to clip me early in the fight, or I just keep grinding him out and put up big numbers, big punches, big takedowns, whatever I got to do to keep grinding him out. But I know I'm going to break him eventually.
Maybe you don't think it's good comparison. I thought it was like this fight could be pretty similar to the Dober one, where like Hernandez had a lot of success early, but then it was kind of like Dober's still there, and he like as the kind of the second round kind of came on, like he started taking over, kind of breaking Hernandez. Like, is that something like it wouldn't be a surprise if you like you never really want to lose a round, but is it not a surprise like you drop the first round, just kind of and then you're still there, and that's where kind of things start going downhill for him?
Yeah, I could see it being very similar to that. Obviously, I don't want to go into a fight thinking I could lose a round, and especially getting tagged up because they were throwing down and having a slugfest. I would love to I've had, I've gotten a fight of the night bonus, and the last fight could have been a fight of the night bonus on most cards. I would love to go out there and get a performance bonus where I'm not taking too much damage, but I know what the fans like. They like seeing guys throwing down and leaving it all in there. So if I have to leave a piece of me in there, I'm prepared to do that. So everyone knows I'm pretty tough to finish, and he's got his work cut out for him trying to take me out. And in the back of his mind, his cardio has to be an issue, losing 10 extra pounds than what he's used to.
You go out there and get the finish. Like, where do you think that kind of puts you? Like, I don't really think you lost much stock on the Burgos fight. Like, he was a top 15 guy. You kind of proved you could hang with him. It's like you go out there and beat a big name in Alex. Like, where do you think that kind of puts you?
Yeah, it puts me right where I want to be, right in that discussion of, this guy's the dark horse in the division, top 15. I got to start looking at the roster and the rankings and who's going to be due up for a fight. I want to fight 3 times next year. I've already kind of put that in my mind that this year was one of those years that happens in the sport where you get hurt sometimes, but I can make up for it next year, especially finishing a big fight in December. But yeah, I got to look over the roster. There's a few guys that have called me out, and there's a few guys that I would just love to fight in the top 15, but it puts me right in that position for these big fights. Being in New York this week, hanging out with all the big stars, seeing the embedded, it's just a reminder to me that for years my goal was to get to the UFC, but once you get there, now it's like, now I want to be one of those big stars that, embedded's following them around. They're doing the extra press conferences. They're on the main card. They're doing all the extra stuff. So now it just adds fuel to my fire of things that I want to accomplish, and the job's not finished yet.
Like, ideal year for you, like you kind of mentioned it there, like 3 fights. What is probably like top 10 at least, probably by this time next year?
Absolutely. That's the goal. Top 10. In a perfect world, go out there, finish Alex Fernandez, get a big bonus, fight again in March, February, March, fight again in the summer, and then fight again at the end of the year. Top next fight, beat Hernandez, fight a guy top 15, middle of summer, fight a guy top 10, end of the year, top 5, top 6, and start getting that recognition that I've worked so hard for to get.
Oh, well, Billy, I appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this again.
Oh, no problem, Cole, man. Good seeing you, man. Go Bills. Always great chopping it up with you.
All right, we're joined by UFC bantamweight Jay Perrin, who's got a big fight UFC 282. Jay, how's it going, man?
I'm hanging in there, Dougie. How are you?
I'm doing well. Like, obviously, a massive fight here against Paul Rosas Jr. Like, obviously, had a ton of hype, being that 17-year-old on the Contender Series. Like, when you were offered him, like, was it excitement or what? Because when I've talked to people that get these prospects, like, a lot of it is excitement, and some of it's like, well, maybe they think that he can beat me, and the UFC's trying to build him up.
I don't give a fuck what they think. I don't care what they think he can do. I know what he can do and what he cannot. Of course, I'm excited. I've been saying this for a minute. Like, the last 2 fights didn't go my way, but I feel like all of that misfortune has led me to this wonderful matchup. Stylistically, I'm a nightmare for Raul. I'm good everywhere, I think that it's a good way for me to push my name. A lot of people are going to watch this kid, and all the pressure's on this kid to perform. And I go in there and, 17, 18, he could be 12. I don't really give a shit. If he stands across from me, I'm going to beat his ass. And if I can do that, in front of hundreds of thousands of people, it could certainly change my life. So, yeah, I'm actually, when I heard it, I'm like, hell yeah. I said, yeah, I'll fight that. I'll fight him. 18, 17, that shit doesn't matter to me. You're now a combatant. A lot of boy have been saying it is, you have he has all the pressure. All the pressure's on him. No one expects me to beat him. You know what I mean? So again, it's just better for me. Everything is too much upside here for me to not be excited about it. So,
what did you make of his Contender Series fight?
So I think that for the narrative is that it's great. 18, he's great, but I think we're getting too enamored with the fact that he's 18 years old. You're trying to be on the roster now, brother. You know what I mean? You're on the roster now, which means that you're going to be held to a standard. And whether you're 18 or not, I'm going to hold you to that standard. If the UFC is the greatest roster of people in the world, that performance didn't convince me that you belong here. You know what I mean? Your grappling is great. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm really not. But again, your last opponent in that Contender Series fight pulled guard over 5 times in 2 rounds even. I didn't even watch the third because I already knew. So he gave him everything he wanted. That's why he could display all of that grappling, is because the dude pulled guard. I'm not going to do that. I've never done that one time. A lot of holes, Yes, he's 18. But again, in the same coin, he's 18 and has a lot to learn. So I thought that for an 18-year-old, he did very well in a high-pressure situation, which is great. But he also made a ton of mistakes that, against me, I'm going to capitalize on. I'm not going to let them go. And every time he makes those mistakes, I'm going to crush him for it. So if I gave it like a 1 out of 10, I gave it a 6. I really don't think that it was that impressive. I think people are enamored with how young he is and are forgetting that you need the skill to be here, and that involves all of your skills. Grappling, it's not 1993. It's not 2001. Even Charles Oliveira has to stand up too. So jiu-jitsu doesn't exist if you can't get me there. So I guess that's he was sloppy and didn't impress me very much when I actually watched it. So,
and then like, how much do you think just like strength is going to play a role? Just because like 18 years old, like you're really not filled in.
You don't have your man strength yet, brother. You don't even have your man strength yet, and you know what I mean. Like it's a thing. And if you do watch, and I encourage everybody to, and tell me I'm wrong. Mondo threw him around a little bit. You know what I mean? When he did go for things, Mondo just overhooked and slang that thing by, and Raul fucking stumbled away. So I don't see him muscling me to the ground. You're gonna have to pull out every bag of trick every trick you have in your bag in order to get me down. And again, and I've said this before, I encourage everyone to watch all of my tape, all of it, and name me one person, that has held me down. One person. Please go through all of it and correct me. I hope you do. I really do. I hope you tell me who's held me down for more than 15 seconds in any fight. It's never happened. There is not better wrestlers, better grappling, Brown, all those types of people. All types of people have tried to take me down, from grapplers to wrestlers to desperate strikers. None of them can get me there. And if they do, I pop right the fuck back up. So what happens when that jiu-jitsu is not working and it's the third round and you can't keep a hold of me because we're sweating, and now that one game plan you've got goes out the window, because like I said, there is a large discrepancy between our hands. If it stays on the feet, this shit is over. I'm going to clean him up. Exactly. To quote Dustin Poirier, I am going to clean this guy up if he stays standing. So we all know he's going to try and do some crazy shit in the first round to get a nice flashy whatever. But what happens when that settles and it doesn't work? And now you have to play my game, because I'm definitely a dog, brother, and you've never been in a dog fight. So, like, again, it doesn't exist if you can't keep me on the ground. And you can try and flying triangle me all you'd like, but when it doesn't work, and now you've wasted all of your energy trying to do something spectacular, and I'm fucking killing you because of it, that's fine. So again, I just don't think he's going to get me down. I don't think he's going to muscle me to the ground. That's for damn sure. And I've been doing this a real long time, against higher level opponents. So I just don't see him get me there. If he does, then good for him, but he's not going to keep me there.
How much do you think the experience and UFC experience will play a role? Like, this is his first time, like, in the UFC, like, under the bright lights, like, you experience fighting on a pay-per-view card. Like, this could probably be the most amount of people he's ever fought in front of. Like,
100%
we
it is.
see all the time with these young guys, like, a lot of them have those energy dumps because, like, it is something they're not used to. Like, how much do you think that plays a role in this one?
100%. Remember, he is an 18-year-old kid, and he's, you know what I mean? Like, remember yourself at 18. I'm not even shitting on him for his age. I'm really not. But you have to remember who you were as an 18-year-old boy. You're very influenceable. Do you know what I mean? You're emotional everywhere. If things don't work out, you might react. 30-year-old me is going to look a different, react to the same thing differently than 18-year-old me. And this moment, like I keep telling everybody, there's no pressure on me. Everybody expects me to lose. The world is on this man's shoulders. So it's on his kid's shoulders. Everybody thinks he's a world killer. Everybody thinks he's supposed to come in here and beat me. Everybody thinks that, right? So again, he has to perform. And if he doesn't perform well, then he's a bum. Then he's a flash in the pan and people will turn on him. There's a lot of pressure on this young man. And it's very rare that you see an 18-year-old be able to handle that kind of moment well. Not saying that he doesn't, but the Apex Center is exactly like a local fight, in my own opinion. There's like a couple of people, there's a crowd, but it's not 10,000 people. You know what I mean? It's not, because people are watching him. So again, all of that is going to factor into his performance. You know what I mean? So again, we'll see how he does. I'm not gonna say that he can't handle the bright lights, but he's certainly never been in a dogfight with so much pressure under him. I don't care what you say. He fought 8 cans in Mexico, and then he got one fucking good fight, and it wasn't even a good performance from his opponent. You know what I mean? It's not like the guy put him through any kind of hell. He gave him what he wanted, and he still.
Oh, your sound cut out.
You there?
Yeah, I got you back now.
Okay. So, his opponent gave him everything he wanted, and it still took him quite a while to secure anything. So, just with that knowledge, my experience, I've fought in world title fights. I fought in, obviously in a big stadium in Salt Lake City. That was a big fight. AQ, if we look at the strength of an opponent, let's look at our last 2 opponents. Mario Batista. Mario Batista is murdering people. Absolutely scorching earth with every single person that he fights. I'm the only person that made all 3 with him, and I did that on 6 days. That should say something. That says something. AQ, in my own opinion, I won that fight. However, the address is, but that's another tough fucking dude. Both of those dudes kill Raul. Absolutely maul Raul. It wouldn't even be close. So his, and not for nothing, I think I wiped Mondo in my own opinion. And again, not to be disrespectful, but I'm just going to be confident in my own skill set. I'm a giant leap in skill level from some of the people that he's been facing, and I have a much higher fight IQ than pulling guard 7 times in 2 rounds. I'm going to tell you that much. So, I think that my experience with better opponents in bigger situations, and being just in a dogfight at all. You know what I mean? Like again, I can't look at a single thing that he didn't get a matchup where everything didn't go exactly as he wanted it to. And this one, it's not. So this is going to be the first time Raul faces real live adversity. 100%. I'm not going anywhere, dude. You're not just going to take me out and roll me over. I've said it a billion times. I'll say it till the day I die. There's not a single person alive that on my best day is just going to whoop my ass. It's just not going to happen. So you can say whatever you'd like. He can think whatever he'd like. But this is the first time you're going to fight a man. And somebody that's not going to give you everything that you want. And it's not going to kowtow to the fact that you're 17, 18, 11. I don't give a shit how old you are. Your parents signed the permission form to participate in the field trip. I am the field trip, and you're going to come back with a failing grade, bro. So that's kind of how I feel. My experience in just bigger fights against better opponents in stadiums, and being in wars for most of my career. I did it the hard way. He did it. And that's going to show on December 10th, which one of us has been doing this game correctly over time. Because I've always fought to my level or higher. I've never fought below my level, ever. Not one time. So, that's proof's going to be in the pudding when it comes to that. Because what happens when you can't get me down and you panic? I'm going to start to take over. And once I do, it's over for you, doggy. Sorry. And you're going to be a star, I'm sure, but not on December 10th.
You kind of touched on it there, but I just kind of want to expand on it, is the fact that he's really never been losing in a fight before. He's never kind of faced that adversity. Like, what do you think he's going to kind of have to, like, what do you think he's going to kind of go through mentally if, say, you drop him or he can't get those takedowns? Like, because he's never experienced that in any of his fights so far.
Panic or he'll freeze, and that's usually what happens when when we're tired, we go back to what we know, and that's why I pride myself on being well-rounded, because when I get tired, what I know is everything. So I can still continue to keep up the pace that I do. Raul's going to go to his grappling. What happens when that grappling doesn't work when you're tired? Well, now we're fucked. Now we're tired in a place that we're uncomfortable in. And usually in a big moment like that, that's where the big moment will come in. I'm panicking. I can't do anything. What do I do now? I can't adapt. He's going to learn his first lesson in how to adapt into the middle of a fight. And if he can't do it, he's going to lose very, very, very quickly. It's going to be very, very apparent. And I'm going to be able to see when the panic sits in and when he can't do it. He's going to realize very quickly it's going to take a lot of energy for him to get me down. And so how he manages that, I can't really say. But for a lot of people, and I'll even say myself, my fight with AQ, be in front of that amount of people with Bruce Buffer calling your name for the first time, that shit is tough. Even up to the point where the ref pointed at me and said, "Are you ready?" I was very, very much caught up in that moment. So, I think the adversity does play a factor. Again, you've never, ever had anybody be able to not to contest you in whatever you wanted. Now you get the guy that's so well-rounded that everywhere he goes, he's competent. And it's not just you're going to get him to the ground and take his back. You're not going to take my back, dude. I'm not going to let you do that. So what happens now? So what's going to happen is he freezes. He realizes that he's in a stand-up war. He'll throw a bunch of crazy shit. As soon as his hands go down, it's going to be a fucking, I'm going to send him back to basics. And I'll teach him a seminar on hands, and then I won't even charge him. So that's how I feel. I feel like as soon as he realizes he can't do everything he wants, slowly everybody starts to break. So that's how I feel.
Do you think, like, in the lead up to this, like, people will kind of overlook you and disrespect you just because he's like this kind of shiny new toy, so to speak?
Yeah, I already expect that. Again, I can't win in the eyes of the public. You know what I mean? Like, if I win, I beat an 18-year-old. If I lose, I'm a bum, and I lost to an 18-year-old. There's no way for me to win here other than secure the check, put on a good performance, and just kind of worry about that. The court of public opinion is what it is, so I'm here to do my job. People will tell me all they'd like. It'll just make it all the sweeter when I make T-Mobile Arena fall completely silent and I get my hand raised, I get my check, and then we're on to the next thing. We're on to a nice, happy Christmas, and then you'll probably see me in March again. So we'll see. I would think that people would go after him. The shiny new toy, like you said, he's new, he's exciting. There are definitely people that have already reached out to me. I couldn't tell you how many, but a lot of them have said that this is a bad matchup. And, anybody that's in the know and has watched my career realizes that this is not an easy go. This is going to be a real, and if he can get through me, then he definitely belongs in the UFC. I'll give him that. But I don't see it. I don't see him having just this simple time with me at all. He's going to have a really, really tough fight in his hands. And I hope he's mentally prepared for that, because if he's not, because I've been there, I've gone 5 rounds. I've gone several times. So, yeah, I think that, eventually he's going to break. And so my call is late second round TKO. That's it's my call.
Is there any added pressure going on to you in this one? Like, you never know the UFC if you lose 3 straight, or is that something you just can't?
I'll probably be out, dude. It is what it is. I accept my fate. I understand. You know what I mean? Entertaining or not. And it's freeing. You know what I mean? It's whatever. It's if you hang on that, if you look at the past too much, you end up living there, and then it affects your future. So I'm only going to handle what's in front of me, man. You know what I mean? And if I worry too much about the last fights that I can't take back, there's what more can I do? If I win the fight, then all of that doesn't matter. Even if I win the fight, they could decide that they don't want me. So I can't really dwell on that. I can go in there and do my job and make it entertaining for fans and win. If I do both, then we got another one of me coming. I got one more of my contract after that, and they could decide if they want me around. But I can't focus on that right now. All I can focus on is beating this kid and then moving on, see what they want from me after.
Just a couple more things. Like, what's it like for you to be a part of this card? Like, obviously 278 was a big one. This one to me seems like a lot bigger, like a lot of big names. Like, what's like, and especially at Vegas too, like what's it like to be a part of this card?
Amazing. When I was a little boy, I never thought that I would fight in Vegas at T-Mobile Arena and have thousands of people there and, stuff like that. I'm very, very grateful to live the life that I do. And I've been on some amazing cards. I've been a part of amazing events. And in my life, when I look back on it, I'll be very, very proud that I was even a part of them, that I was considered that. And I got to have thousands of people cheer my name, and that was really cool. Even after the loss in Utah, if you were there, people were upset about me losing. And they really showed me how much they enjoyed my fight. And that's something I'll never forget, walking out and getting cheered and stuff like that. So it is, as much as it's overwhelming, it's something that you look forward to. After your first time, you're like, wow, I can't wait to do that shit again. That shit's going to be crazy. And that's T-Mobile Arena is not going to be any different. I think that it might be crazier because we have, I don't know, top to bottom. I'm pretty sure Chris Curtis is on the prelims, like the pre-prelims. So top to bottom, this card is ridiculous, So I do expect a good amount of people there and a real good energy from the crowd. And it gets me up in the morning. I really, really, really want to entertain the fans and be known as somebody that went in there and fought and people were really a fan of. So I'm not going in there to hold you and put you in place. I'm trying to put my hands on you and beat you at any cost. So it'll be really, really cool to get back in there.
Just 2 more things. Like, are you glad to be fighting him in his debut? Like, obviously there's going to be a ton of eyeballs on him in his debut. And then you can, like, his hype's probably at an all-time high, especially say he loses that one or first or second fight, then you get him. Like, his hype isn't as big as it is right now.
100%. That's why I said I was excited to take the matchup, because I think matchup stylistically, I can beat him definitively. And there's so much hype around the kid, and the zero expectations for me actually helps me, because if I win, well, now I've stolen that shine, at least part of it I've stolen. And now it becomes mine. And like I said, it can change my life. You got 100,000 followers in a day from that performance. You know what I mean? That's crazy, and if I could even get half of that, then my life has changed. And so I'm very excited about that. I think that he's going to develop as over time. Like I keep telling everybody, he's going to be a star someday, just not on December 10th. That's just it. I really do expect a lot of good things from Raul, and maybe after I beat the shit out of him this time, later on down the road, we fight again. But I think that the hype around him is apropos, sure, but I'm gonna steal it. When I beat him up, all the eyes of the world are gonna watch me do that. And whether they like me or they don't, they're going to watch and they're going to follow me. And that'll be enough for me. So you get enough eyes on you, get enough people that like you or even hate you, you keep your job. So that's what I'm looking to do.
Just last thing, like you go out there and finish them. Like, what do you think that does for you? Like, obviously, you take a lot of hype. You kind of said you want to return in March. Like, I have to imagine that puts you back in a pretty good position in this.
Puts me at 1 and 2. Puts
Yep.
me at 1 and 2. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. At the negotiating table when we renegotiate my contract, that's what they're going to say. You know, you're 1 and 2, you're 2 and 2 at best, and that's that'll do that. But I think it'll definitely help my brand for sure. It'll definitely help, you know, going forward and how many people, you know, when I fight people like, oh, this guy's fighting, he's the guy that fought the kid and and it's like a trickle effect. So I can't say that I'll like blow up, but I'll certainly get the attention that maybe I haven't gotten before, and that's cool with me, man. You know what I mean? All I want to do is continue to live the life that I do. I train, I wake up, I train 4 times a day. I get to do what I love every day, and I do it at the highest level in the greatest organization in the world for what I do. And all I want to do is continue to secure that. You know, money comes later. Right now, I just want to secure my spot as one of the best in the world. I've said it in a long time. And after this kid, you know, I'm going to start making my run towards top 20, top 15. And, you know, once I prove that I've made the adjustments to win in the UFC, you know what I mean? And people are going to see me start trouncing people, because I really do believe I am one of the better people in the world. And in any training room, I am a hard go for any 35er in the world. So I do think it helps. It's a good start, but it's not the finish line. So I can get enamored with it, but for a minute, but I got to get back to work as soon as I can, because, you know, I got to get another win, and then we can see where we go from there. But, you know, again, like I've been saying to people like, oh, how's the media stuff? And I'm like, I need to win, man. All that stuff is nice. If I don't win, then it doesn't matter. So I'm going to focus on finishing the kid, and then from whatever happens from there happens. But I'm going to finish this person first, and then I can worry about the glitz and the glam of all the other shit afterward.
Well, Jay, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this again.
Hey, thank you very much, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.